Hello everybody, my name is Alice Bwalya and I'm going to sing for you my favorite hymn that is dear to my heart. Sit back, relax and enjoy. Kulwa kwa pwano kuchula mpalume Yesu yaliansha nolwa kuchipyalwa imbwa haleluya 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 haleluya.
Muletamba umulabasa wapa fitu chinkumba wera pa social media TNP ekutira teach and preach mwatinika fe parapari following mwatinika po erio kabiri mwalaikinga ninshi ifwe mwatwafwa twatotela sana muletu konka lyonse.
Greetings to our viewers and welcome to the TNP TV channel. And today we have a panelist. My name is Hector Mukabe and I'll give a chance for them to introduce themselves. We'll start from this side.
Okay, my name's Bwalya Mwelwa. I'm currently helping out coordinating youth work at GLOW, and I'm also a youth chairperson for Chingola district here in Zambia.
And Kelvin is my name. I'm one of the elders in Zambia, specifically at Ndeke Church. And I'm involved with teaching and preaching. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm David Smith. I'm from Perth, Australia. I'm the International Director of IBCM Network, and I travel a lot doing cross-cultural teaching and training.
My name's Naomi Kefa Kaisala. A student at GLOW. I'm doing diploma in theology. I'm from Aside Christian Brethren, and I'm a leader for the youths, church, district and provincial level.
Greetings, my name is David Power. I am the Principal and Director of GLOW Zambia, which is the Christian Brethren Training Center, centered here in Ndola, but for the whole of Zambia. And we are working very much with ACCS, which is an accrediting body in Australia, to offer diploma and degree as part of our training from GLOW.
I'm not moderating alone. I have my co-moderator. I'll allow him to introduce himself and then we proceed with the question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukabe Hector. My name's Mwansa Omala. I'm the co-moderator for this discussion. We are going to look at a very interesting and important topic, which is why are the young people leaving the Christian Brethren congregation? And we have got a very powerful panelist that has introduced themselves to help us actually answer this question. They're not only going to give the reasons why, but they also give us the practical solutions to this problem that we are actually facing as young people.
On why are the youths leaving the Christian Brethren Church?
Thank you very much. There could be a number of reasons as to why youths leave the Christian Brethren churches, but I will not go through all of them. I'll just maybe pick up one or two that are very, very key. One of the things that I've learned over years is that We, as Christian brethren, we are very good at bringing up children from Sunday school up to the level when they go. Basically, we talk about going into tertiary. And at that point, we normally lose them out because they get exposed not only to the higher education, but also to other religious bodies when they interact with friends in colleges, in universities, and normally they don't come back to our assemblies. What could be the reason for that? In the first place, I would say one of the reasons is that we don't seem to have the right food to feed them when they reach the youth age, especially at the ages of between 18 and above, before they actually attain adulthood. It's very common that we tend to develop very good teachings for the young people, but when it reaches a certain level, we tend to lose out. The other aspect is, of course, with the youths themselves. We've had encounters and situations where you try to bring the youths together, but you find them to be resistant because they have been exposed to certain teachings which they feel is ministering to their needs, and they tend to move away. Experience also would show that a number of youths do not want to sit in class to learn godly things at local assemblies. That also contributes to their departure when they reach a certain age. But other than that, we have also got the background or the history of the brethren, especially in Zambia, where we tend to have certain traditions that we cannot drop, which when the youth or the young people get exposed to sometimes sound teaching, they would actually leave because they feel we are actually oppressing them. For now, I think I would end there in terms of introducing why these youths are not maintained in our churches. I think I can add a few more words afterwards when other speakers are able to give their views. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll ask David as well to answer the same question.
Thanks, Hector. I'll try and give you a perspective from what I've learnt in engaging with different churches right around the world. There's some common themes that are coming out. People that are my age and older, and you're going to have to guess what my age is, people that are my age and older tend to have been engaged with our mind as far as Christianity and teaching and preaching is concerned. However, the younger generation need to be engaged with the heart. We feel, the older people feel like informing the head is what transforms people's lives spiritually. However, younger people are more interested in something that connects with their heart and their emotions and answers the question, how does it really impact and connect with me before it transforms their mind? And so it's like a reverse action that's happening. And so sometimes what's happening is that our preaching, if it continues to inform the head and not touch the heart, the young people are thinking, there's nothing here that connects with me. They are just missing what I want. And the people that are preaching perhaps tend to be older, and they're used to preaching to the mind for information rather than to heart for engaging people in the love of God and being transformed that way. I think there's one other thing I'll mention is the issue of leadership. Leadership tends to have been held onto by older people, and younger people aren't involved in the decision-making process, and so they feel like any ideas they have got are squashed rather than them being able to participate in the decision-making process in churches. And so what I see when we get to the solution part is looking at how can leadership involve the youth in ways where they feel involved and connected, encouraged and empowered. So we'll look at that when we come to the solution side of things. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move to Mr. David Power to answer the same question that we have been asked.
Thank you very much. Which has been working particularly with youth is really linked with what's been said, but it's this disconnect between the missions. But I think as a training institution, we need to see the fact that there must be a connection between these two groups. the older and the younger. The other of Christ, and that's something which hasn't been communicated very well. And so, so those are some of the reasons why people are leaving. I'm looking forward to talking more about the solutions as we move on, but I'll leave it there for my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have heard what our leaders, our old people have said concerning why the young people are actually leaving the Christian Brethren congregation. But we've also got the young people who have also got their own reasons why we, the young people, are leaving. So we're going to give the chance reasons why we are leaving. I'll start with my sister Naomi here so that we can hear her view, and then we're going to move to my brother Bwalya.
Thank you for giving me this time. To teaching and the reality as youth first in the areas of technology, career choices, and relationship and social issues. I think our brethren is not doing.
Thank you. I think in my view, I would also say that the reason why youths are leaving the Brethren movement is firstly because even though the youth network has been welcomed within our circles as brethren, still we don't see or feel that relevance of us being a part of the church, because whatever we can bring on the table is always thrown in the trash. So it's more like we don't feel there's that disconnection between the elderly people or the leadership board. But for us as brethren, it's something different. They only expect you to come to church. It's only the preaching that feeds your mind and never answered
that the problem that we have in the church is the programs that are offered to the youths. And from the response from David Smith, as I heard you explaining, you talked of preaching the way.
The preaching. In the past, we preached for truth to touch the mind. I need to not just inform the head, but I need to engage their heart and to touch the issues that they want to be dealt with, not just feed them what I think they need to know. There's a big difference there. Doesn't mean that the Bible's irrelevant anymore, but it means that God's word must touch the heart, not just the head. Relationship needs to be added in here as well, because the word connection doesn't just mean preaching. It means if I have a relationship with others that are teaching or preaching or involved in the church, then I will feel part of something bigger. That comes back to the identity issue that David mentioned. So with the preaching area, it's about relationship. Am I connected with the people in relationship? Then they will listen to what's being said if it attaches. To the heart, not just the head. It's a big shift for us because preachers like a lot of information to go out there, and the hard work is actually having the relationship with their needs. I have to understand their needs first. That's a lot of work.
Other questions from the feedback from the people?
Thank you very much. I think my question will go to Mr. Kelvin Ingandwe. You mentioned lack of interest among the youths to learn godly things. What if it is not interesting? Have you tried to find out if this will actually tackle the issues that the young people are going through, or is it just to offer the teachings as they are supposed to be offered? So I would like you to explain.
rooted into sound Christian doctrine.
Comes back to the identity issue that David mentioned. So with the preaching area, it's about relationship. Am I connected with the people in relationship? Then they will listen to what's being said if it attaches to the heart, not just the head. It's a big shift for us because preachers like a lot of information to go out there, and the hard work is actually having the relationship.
Youths to listen. What if what you are teaching is not interesting? Then how do you expect people to have interest in something which is not interesting? Have you tried to find out if this will actually tackle the issues that the young people are going through, or is it just to offer the teachings as they are supposed to be offered? So I would like you to explain more on the lack of interest.
Thank you very much. Actually, I didn't even amplify much on that point. I should be able to make mention that there is also the aspect from the elders' point of view, the aspect of disobedience, as well as the aspect of unwillingness to learn. Like I did mention earlier on, Christian Brethren is one of the few churches in Zambia, if I may say, who are really deeply rooted into sound Christian doctrine. And I can testify to you that a number of times, one of my colleagues actually, who is a pastor, pastoring one of the churches, actually confided in me and said, you know, Christian Brethren is our nursery. A nursery, like we prepare young people. When we prepare them and they come with that full knowledge and understanding of biblical principles, but you don't know how to look after them after they reach a certain age. Why do we fail to look after them after they reach a certain age? It's because there is the aspect of disobedience. Because they feel we do these teachings in a more traditional way. And like one of the panelists actually said, we are concentrating on bringing up these children into sound doctrinal issues, and we forget about their social aspect. So when it comes to the social aspect, that's where most of our young people would say, we can't remain here just being bombarded with these good doctrinal issues, and we are learning these things, but they are not attending to our social needs. Yes, on that aspect, you would say, yes, indeed, we'll find that most of the brethren churches, they teach the Bible, but they don't know how to look after the social needs of the youths. So when the youths get exposed to other social amenities, when they go to colleges and other places, they become so disobedient. Even when you are telling them, asking them to sit in class, they would not agree, because they feel they've now found the meat, because it is ministering to them from the head as well as in the heart. So I think I would safely say that that is one of the areas. And you know, as leaders of the churches in the Christian Brethren, we find it very difficult to actually sit down with these young people. I also need to make mention that it's not only about the elders not being able to help each other. If the youths were able to embrace some of the church leaders who have actually opened up to them to say, let's sit down and see how best we can help each other, we could have seen transformation in their lives. But they opt to leave even before they can actually do wider consultation in terms of what will be beneficial to them as they grow in this life. So I would actually end on that and say, we really need to move away from what we may term as the traditional way of doing things as the church leaders, to one which will actually be able to minister to these young people even on their social needs. I think I would end there for now.
Thank you very much. And as we continue to discuss this topic, I would love to pose one question to our panelists, and so that they can give us their answer. How do you feel when you see a young person that you've groomed, that you've imparted knowledge in, leaving the Christian Brethren Church? How do you feel? We're going to start with Mr. Bwalya there, and we'll continue moving to Mr. David Power.
Okay, on a personal level, I would say I feel very bad because when you groom someone, you expect to see them use whatever you've impacted in them to benefit the church which they were groomed from. It's a very, very bad feeling that comes personally. I've had people I've worked with, and most of them are no longer with the Brethren Church. They opted to go to other churches. And I think sometimes I would say I would blame it on the leadership of the church because they didn't come in to help. Like, there's no relationship between the leaders of the church and us youths. I'm not saying this, that it's only the leaders that are to seek for a relationship with us youths, but also us youths are not trying to reach out to the leaders so that they can be that connection in between us. So my point would be it's a very, very bad feeling because you expect them to also groom others, and there would be that continuation of grooming each other.
Of course, we would say that it doesn't feel good to see somebody you've tried to invest in, and to some of us would have even actually adopted some of the young people to start mentoring them. But when they just move out of our place, you find them shifting camps and going elsewhere. It doesn't feel good. I think we just need to be somehow intentional as we interact with the youths. It is not really a good feeling. It is just like when you've got a child at home, you are trying to impact that knowledge and bring the child in the manner of godliness, and then you see that child going astray. Definitely as a parent, you feel bad. You feel actually so terrible that you'd want to find a solution to help that child come back to you through other ways and means of reuniting with the child.
Yeah, I think we always feel sad when someone leaves family. I think that's a natural reaction. I think on a different angle though, because the kingdom of God is bigger than one flavour of church, which is ours. What we want is for every individual to flourish in their service for God. So the challenge for our churches is, if for some reason we have not allowed the flourishing of a particular person in our church, perhaps we've squashed ideas, someone over here said everything was thrown in the bin that's put on the table. If we have actually tried to judge and criticise and not allow them to flourish, we can't expect them to stay. If they go somewhere else and they're encouraged, their ideas are embraced, and they find they can use their gifts in a way that allows them to be a greater blessing to the kingdom of God, then that's good for them. But it's always sad when someone leaves.
Lily, it's a sad thing when you groom some youths and then you find that at a certain point they leave the church. To me, it's like you only have one way and you value it very much, and then it goes missing, and it was hard for you to get that one way. Again, you start like finding another one, and it's so difficult. We don't know what we can do for now, but we need to value what we have and make sure we do something so that it stays.
Well, I think the panel are united that it's sad. I think we agree that. And I think I totally concur with what Dr. Smith has said about the fact that there's one thing if somebody loses their faith, there's another thing if somebody simply is moving to another expression of Christianity, and it depends on what that is and where that fits with our doctrinal point. For me, I think we go back to why it's happening, and I think the issue of the doctrine we have presented has often not been linked with the rest of life. And that is also a problem. So how do we make relevant even the doctrine that we are teaching? It shouldn't just be, these are the beliefs, you have to agree, but how do we work that together? So these are some of the areas, perhaps now moving on, I don't know if I'm taking over from the coordinators to some of the solutions, but for us as a training institution, it's a real encouragement to see now some mixed courses being trained where we've got elders and youths and ladies and everybody represented from the church coming to the same courses to hear the same trainings, because that will unite us as we hear each other's viewpoints and move together. And the word that I am very encouraged to hear being used is this word mentoring. And I think if we can begin more of this between the leaders and the youths asking leaders to speak into their lives, and youths and elders asking youth to come along and walk with them. This must begin to build relationships, and without relationships we won't feel we belong anywhere. In a family or wherever we are, we need to feel we belong, we need to feel that others are seeing us as a value, and any ways in which we can do that. So even, for example, some of our trainings when we have youth camps and so on, we are trying to make sure now that there are older people of experience but understanding and sympathy who can be there to help these young people. And maybe this will gradually begin to reverse what might be a program. But also I'm very aware that many other churches have been blessed by the young people that we have grown, who have gone to them now. And we shouldn't be too worried about that. The Lord will bring us more young people, and maybe our turn now is to receive young people from others who have never had that training, and we can pick them up. So we mustn't be too much caught up, I think, in the, are they ours or are they theirs? But let's see faith being grown. That is the big passion that I would personally have.
As we continue, and soon we are going to go into the next episode, as we're going to hear more about the solutions like Mr. David Powers just highlighted. I would love also just to hear comment from Bwalya as well as Eldangandwe about mentorship that has been mentioned from the training coordinator, Mr. Power. The only time that we are going to find elders talking to the youths, it's when there is a problem. There is no time for building up relationship. Like you mentioned, Mr. Power, to say there is a gap between the older generations and the younger generation. So I'd love to hear your comment on that one in an aspect of mentorship.
Thank you. So like I said earlier on, I would say those are some of the things that makes us youths feel like we are no longer relevant in the Brethren Church. Because everything that we do, I don't know if our leaders understand that we also have ideas. We are being exposed to different kind of things, and there are some ideas that are coming into our minds which we would love to share with our leaders. Certain things that we would love to see happening within our churches. But when you present those ideas, the only thing they will tell you is that this is not the way we do it as brethren. They will never clear your mind to say the reason why we don't do this as brethren is because of this and this and that. But they will just say this is not what we do. So in that area, we feel like there's a void. We are being told not to do certain things, but we don't know the reason why we are told not to do those things. Yet we see those things happening somewhere else, and when we interact with our fellow youths, we are seeing some sense in those things as they are being done, and they are enriching the youth elsewhere. So if we can be mentored in different areas, not only in having faith in the Lord, knowing how to read the Bible, because there are a lot of things that make up life. It's not only a prayer and a Bible verse. There are a lot of things, but we are only mentored in that area. And you can never know what is wrong if you are not taught that this is wrong. But the issue comes in when we do something which we are never taught that this shouldn't be done. That's when you see the elders or the leaders coming in. Yet in the first place, when you started doing the thing, they never said, no, this cannot be done. They let you work it through, then halfway through the journey, they will come in and say, you are wrong, this shouldn't be done. So we are going to make this youth group shut and everything else will be squashed. So our leaders, like, they just sit and wait for us to make mistakes. And when we make mistakes, they come in to correct, instead of giving us guidance just when we start about the things that we can and cannot do.
Well, I need to make mention that one of the biggest challenges that we have in dealing with the youth is the same notion that youths are not taught the wrongs. They are only put into this council of elders when they have done something wrong. I think that is an odd adage that we cannot talk about today. Because on the positive side, many churches and assemblies, especially on the Copperbelt, not only on the Copperbelt, but throughout Zambia, they have embraced the youth programs. And at most of the churches, you find their youth programs which are running independently and effectively. From the little knowledge that I have coming from my local assembly, going even into other assemblies that I interact with, you find that every youth group has been assigned with one elder who is actually the patron, or for lack of a better term, the one who looks after the affairs of the youth. But one thing still comes out, the resistance to change within the brethren circles, because of the notion that we have been brought up this way and we tend to be resistant to change. That in itself is actually killing the spirit of embracing and mentoring the youths. I'll give you typical examples where we have, okay, let's identify some of the young people that are able to look after or to lead their fellow youths. And when you talk to them, you give them guidance on what they are supposed to do. What you see and what you hear is they will start bringing in things that were not even brought to them or given to them. And at the end of the day, you find that they are most of the time in conflict with the leadership. It's because they feel at times that they would have been so much exposed, they would have gained a lot of knowledge. Not necessarily to say it's bad to come to GLOW. The young people would come and tell you that, me, I've been exposed to teachings at GLOW. There is nothing that you can tell me at local assemblies. And that in itself, having interacted with some of the elders, is what brings this gap. Because they will be saying, oh, okay, because they've been to GLOW and they think they know more, they cannot listen to us, let them be. And you find that that gap continues to be there. I think there is need that we just, first of all, we become deliberate in terms of transformation. The youths must be transformed in line with what the leadership are also trying to bring forward for the youth programs that are being instituted at various assemblies. That will help to bridge the gap if only we all agreed that change is inevitable and we cannot run away from it. When we are getting exposed to certain norms and certain systems, we need to change to see where are we getting it wrong. How can we embrace each other? And how do we mentor these young people? Of course, there are some of them who are actually mentored very well, and they've remained in Christian brethren for years. They have not moved out. But for some of them who become, for lack of a better term, overzealous, they would say, no, I think this is old age, we can't remain. And that becomes a problem on its own. Because there is still that gap to say, these are just teaching us odd things. What can we learn from them? As have been exposed, we are on the
Thank you very much to the response, which are very insightful. And to our viewers there, stay tuned as we are going to have another episode to hear more of the solutions to the problems that have been highlighted. Share the video, share the page, subscribe to the YouTube channel TNP TV, and follow our Facebook page. For now, it's God bless you.
Welcome back to the final episode of our discussion, why are the youths leaving the Christian Brethren congregation? In this episode, we are going that our panel have been working on. I don't know if they worked on them this afternoon or if they have been working on them and they are intentional. So based on the reasons that were given why the youths are leaving, we'll try to find out the solutions that they have actually put in place. They talked about the pain that they feel when the young people leave. But we can actually see if they really feel the pain in the solutions that they're going to give us. Are they just going to be solutions from the head, or are they intentional solutions that will actually bring the change and young people will no longer leave? So we're going to start with Odangandwe. Food that the young people are being fed. And he also talked about the lack of interest. The young people, that they don't show the interest in learning the things of God. And he also talked about the issue of the patrons that have been allocated to the young people. I'll ask him a question on the patrons as he gives the solution, because most of the patrons that have been given to young people, they don't understand the culture of young people. And it becomes very difficult to relate with young people. Mr. Ngandwe, can you give us the solutions that you have on the reasons that you raised? And what are you doing to give young people patrons that actually understand their culture?
It is like you already know the answers through the question. When we talk about patrons, we talk about what should we do. But of course, one thing that should be very clear is that there is a deliberate program that has been made for the youths. And I think on this one, I would say kudos to the leadership or elders for coming up with these programs that support the youth. Of course, yes, there could be some challenges in terms
and young people will no longer live. So we're going to start with Odangandwe, because he mentioned 3 things that I actually picked. He talked about the wrong food that the young people are being fed. And he also talked about the lack of interest. The young people, that they don't show the interest in learning the things of God. And he also talked about the issue of the patrons that have been allocated to the young people. I'll ask him a question on the patrons as he gives the solution, because most of the patrons that have been given to young people, they don't understand the culture of young people. And it becomes very difficult to relate with young people. Mr. Ngandwe, can you give us that you have on the reasons that you raised? And what are you doing to give young people patrons that actually understand their culture?
It is like you already know the answers through the question. When we talk about patrons, we talk about what should, of course, one thing that should be very clear is that there is a deliberate program that has been made for the youths. And I think on this one, I would say kudos to the leadership or elders for coming up with these programs that support the youth. Of course, yes, there could be some challenges in terms of who becomes the youth leader amongst the elders. And when you're talking about the patrons, we need to just start moving away from maybe people volunteering to say our youth patron. But where we go to say, let's look at people that, or the elders that have got the heart for the youths. Those that will be able to interact, those that will be able to connect with the needs of the youth and be able to maintain or contain them within the brethren circles. So the first part that we need to do is become intentional that we need the youth for the future of the church. And then we put in programs that will actually address not only the spiritual aspect of their needs, but also we also look at their other social aspects. I'll give you a typical example. Most of the youths will connect very well, say, in sport. But when we come into our church, yes, that is one of the weaknesses which we could have identified. We find that when you say, let's go for sport as a way and means of embracing the youth, they'll say, I don't think that is biblical. We don't see sport in the Bible. And that becomes part of a problem. And I think it's time that we started looking at how do we come up with programs that will be able to embrace and minister to the youth in a natural way. The scriptures and whatever, but where we'll be able to say, can we maybe come up with facilities like where they will go out for a picnic, where they will sit down and chat and they will talk about their life problems, and they are openly discussing this with somebody who is able to mentor them into really understanding what the life is all about. It is also important that the youths themselves should also be intentional to say that the elders are more experienced, of course, and that cannot be taken away from them. But they need to connect young Joseph, the leadership. I think in the interest of leaving other areas for my colleagues on the panel, I would end here for now. Thank you.
With the issue of youths leaving the church and going to other congregations, where do you see the church fitting in the bigger picture of the universal church? Because the kingdom of God is not only about the Christian brethren, like you highlighted. Could you comment on that, on the solution, if they have to leave? Would you be comfortable if they go to a church that you know that they have a good, sound doctrine? Are you going to be comfortable with that?
I just want to correct our understanding about sport first, because sport is in the Bible. It talks about playing tennis because it said that Joseph served in the court of Pharaoh, so you can actually play sport. So it's okay to do that. I think that any church that has good doctrine and empowers the youth is fine. I think our problem that we need to solve is that empowerment. I think that people find that they aren't listened to at an eldership level, then they will feel like there's nothing here for them. Leaders always find somewhere to express what they believe God has poured on their heart. You want the leaders in your church. How are you going to involve them? Well, one of the important things is for us to change the way we do leadership. And what I mean is that eldership should include apprentice elders or apprentice leaders. I'm not saying that young people will automatically become elders in churches. What I'm saying is that when you gather as leaders for other younger people there to hear your conversation, to hear from them on younger people, they won't be responsible for the decisions, but they will contribute and feel heard. And it's in that moment that two things happen. The older people feel the vitality and importance of understanding the younger people, and there's a closer gap, or there is no gap. The relationships form, and the younger people feel it's their church because they're contributing to the direction that happens. So I really think that's a really important solution that we need to implement into our churches.
Okay, Mr. David Power, you talked about disconnection between young people and the elders, and also understanding of the congregation. Those are the reasons that you feel young people are leaving the Christian Brethren congregation. What solutions as a training school are you offering so that we can see the change where young people no longer live but they stay and serve in the Christian Brethren church?
Yeah, these are the challenges we face as a training institution. And that's why I think I touched on it last time. We are so encouraged that in our courses, we are intentionally trying to recruit as students people from all ages and gender, both genders and so on, because we want people to grow up hearing the same thing. We, for example, at Glow Zambia, we run December camp for young people. But the only older people who come are sometimes the patrons to make sure that things are happening correctly. Not coming to say, okay, what are these young people really hearing and talking about? How do we work together? And I think if there's a problem between youth and the older generation, it is even more there when it's young ladies. And how do they feel? When we have a youth weekend, it would be great if some elders came not to watch to see if they're doing it correctly, but to say, we also want to hear what's being said. What are the issues of youth? We are just about to have a weekend here, which is looking at young people in the wider church. We have another one about youth culture. It would be great if we even had those subjects for the elders, so that we can be hearing the same things and learning together the decisions that are being taken. And to encourage us all, I think we are seeing gradual change. The Christian Brethren is a network which won't change fast. But sometimes fast change is not good. Slow is better, and you get there in the end.
Thank you very much. We have actually heard from our elders the solutions that they have, but we're not going only to end with the solutions. They should prepare themselves, because the question is coming. I believe if you are intentional about something, it should have a vision, and the vision should be time-bound. So I expect that the solutions that you're offering to be intentional, they should be accompanied by a vision, and they should be time-bound. So we'll come back to you so that we can hear what the vision of the solutions are and the time we expect to see those things happening. Right now, we are going to move to the young people so that we can also hear. She talked about the relevance of the teachings. What solution can be offered so that the teachings that we are receiving as young people can be relevant and meet us at the point of our needs.
Thank you very much. I think my elders have spoken a lot about that, and I believe they're going to implement that. First of all, I would want our elders to break the barrier between youths and them, and at least having time to find out the issues that the youths are going through and what they need to be taught. Not only that, our social life, health matters, everything that surrounds them, not only about the word of God. So at least if they are able to identify people who can mentor them in those areas, it will help us, the youths, not to leave the churches, because they'll be getting everything that they need to know about their social life, how they can live, health matters, and so on. So would want to request for the elders to just break the barrier, go to the youths, sit them down, ask them what they need, what they are expecting to learn, so that they don't leave the church. Thank you.
Brother Bwalya, you mentioned the aspect of not feeling to be part of the church in terms of programs and maybe in terms of the upbringing from the elders. What can be the solution for that?
Yeah, thank you so much. Firstly, what I would love to say is that the first solution for me would be the leaders should let the church be a real place, not an imaginary place. Because most of the time we feel like we pretend to be who we are, because that's who we are forced to be. We are never real when we are at church. So you would do different lives. When they are at church, they are someone else. When they go out of church, they become someone else, because there's all that legalism in church. This, that, what. So I think the first solution would be, let the church be a real place. If a hospital is a real place, they expect sick people to go there and get healed. So what services does the church offer? If I have a problem, can I go to church and find a solution there? So that's my first view of a solution. Then the next thing about feeling part of the church, I've seen pictures of times when youths would be called to be part of maybe a certain program that's being run by the church. They would say, we are incorporating you, but you are never allowed to bring your ideas to the table. All you are told to do is just be there, listen, be told what to do so that you go and tell your friends, the fellow youths. So us being part of the decision making would make us feel that we are being relevant to the church, because we're doing something of significance to the church. Even when we see the church making progress, we would say we were part of that progress. But most of the time, we are just told what needs to be done. So even if we are told, come and sit here, the only thing they will tell you is, listen to this. You are never told to say, what is the problem? So that at least they pay a listening ear to you. So the problem is, our leaders only speaks and expects us to listen, but they never allow us to speak so that they can also listen. So I would say another solution would be, they speak as well as listen, so that we may also speak as well as listen. So between us and the leaders. Then the other thing, you have a different view on something. So in the end, you become confused. You don't know what to follow. But when we go to other churches, if they mean this is what is done, they will explain it. Even if you ask someone else, they will tell you the same thing. So it shows these people know what they are talking about, but our leaders are not so sure. So we would love to see that assurance in our leaders, that if they say this, they really mean this, and the reason why this is said is because of this. That will give us some confidence to embrace the teachings that they are giving us. It's not that we lack the interest of learning, Because even where we are going out there, we are submitting ourselves to the teachings of the people we are finding there, which shows that the interest of learning is there. But the issue is, what are we learning? So at least if they give us the assurance of what they are teaching us is what they stand on, that will give us the confidence to embrace the teachings. That's my comment.
Thank you very much. We have heard the young people. They have also talked about what they feel should be the solutions so that we can stop the living of young people in the Brethren Church, so that we can continue to grow and serve together with the leaders that we have. We've heard the solutions, but I believe they should be intentional. And if something is intentional, it should have a vision, and the vision can't come up with these programs without these leaders. So this question will only go to Elder Ngandwe Power. Dr. Ngandwe talked of programs to support the young people and address their needs, the needs of young people. When do we expect to see these programs starting? And what's the vision for these programs so that we can be able to look forward to learn and take part and support these programs?
It's already there. And I did actually make mention earlier on that we have done, actually we fought a battle over years. Maybe before some of you were even born, where we had to struggle to just differentiate between a youth and umsepela. When we talk about youth and umsepela and Sunday school, this was actually something that some of our elders at that particular time would not even hear, would not even differentiate. But we fought through that battle, and we are standing where we have, at least for now, in each and every district on the Copperbelt, in each and every district, even in Luapula province. I'm confidently saying this because I know what is going on in terms of youth thing. Believe you me, the brethren where you never have uniformity, you will be able to attend to these issues of the youth in a different way. But the good part is at least each and every district is having some youth programs running. So to expect that you will be able to be uniform in the way we are doing things, that is something that may not even come very soon. But we'll still be able to work out that at least the programs will be running in various places of our churches. In terms of actualization of the vision, I think I would start by saying we should shun the blame culture. Because this blame culture has actually killed all of us, from the elders and the youths themselves. Anything that stop having this blame culture, then we'll be able to move into our vision. I think that should be the first thing that we should work on before we come to the actualization. We come to the actualization of the vision. To listen, learn, and then you change within the Christian Brethren churches. I'm speaking to you as an elder who's been with them for many years, and understand the way they look at these things as leaders, because they believe you have become difficult to work with because you don't want to listen, you don't want to learn, and you just want to lead. So start the other way. What I would urge my fellow elders is that we need to be intentional. We need to be intentional and embrace change. Let's embrace change. The reality is, the way we used to do things those years is not the same way we can do it now. We need to be relevant to the youths, and we need to be relevant even to the world. If we don't embrace change, we'll not be able to manage the youths. They will always be running away from us. So as we listen, as we look at the way we could actually actualize the vision, let's begin by embracing each other, and then we'll be able to move to actualization. And this change should actually come with a positive mind. We should always be thinking positive, that yes, we can work with our youths. I like this, one of the statements that was issued by one of the panelists is that we should be allowing these youths, even though it is happening in some of the assemblies, where youths are brought together to say, come and sit here, listen to what is going on. And the challenge that we have People, the elders should have confidence in the youth, because youth, you talk too much. Immediately you hear something in some of those discussions, even before you blow it out. So you should be able to reach the level where you mature to say, if I hear something where I've been asked to come and sit, let me hold on until it is formally announced by the leaders. But where you, even before you reach home, the trumpet is already blown, then people will not have that confidence in you. In terms of the vision actualization, I can assure you, because of the brethren where we run things, it's not something that we can attach a year to. But I can assure you that it's in the pipeline. We are moving in the positive direction, and we expect a lot of good results coming in a very short time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a powerful answer, and he was very much confident with what he was saying. So we believe that the vision is in the pipeline and the actualization will actually be done. So as young people, we need to support our leaders because they have something good for us. Moving to Dr. Smith, you are the IBCM International Director, and you talked about the inclusion of young people. And one thing that IBCM is doing, it has included young people by having youth ambassadors in almost every country.
That's correct.
Yes. So what plans or what programs do you have for the youth ambassadors? What roles are they going to be playing in this country, and how are they going to engage the young people as IBCM ambassadors, not as youths of this country?
Before I get to exactly that, I want to address it from the issue of culture, which was mentioned here. In our churches, we can tend to have a culture of control. And a culture of control does not empower or encourage. And the youths are feeling that the elders just want to tell us what to do at times. And yes, sometimes the youth don't listen. We understand that. But if we have an attitude of control, then encouragement doesn't happen. And I think you use the idea of culture of blame. Well, I call it a culture of control, to try and control it the way I want it. The young people will be leaders tomorrow, whether we like it or not, and they will do it differently, whether we like it or not, and we need to encourage them in the right way, not try and control our way. The idea of having youth ambassadors across the world was a number of different reasons. One was the older people weren't passing the information on to the younger people, so we couldn't get them involved at an international level. Speak to the younger people because we wanted them involved and encouraged to be an important part of ministry worldwide. One of the things that we are doing with the youth ambassadors is encouraging them to think. Do you hear that word, encourage? Encouraging them to think about how they can network in their country together and even across country borders so that youth ministry can flourish in their country. And we want to be there to stand beside them. We're having a conversation here tonight about the possibility of more youth connection across Zambia. That's a conversation that we trust will have a time amount to it in the future very quickly. So with our youth ambassadors worldwide, we stand beside them to encourage them to realize their potential for God in their country and beyond, and to network with youth right around the world, because believe it or not, older people, the young people want to connect. And they want to hear what's happening right around the world. And someone in Colombia can speak an idea to someone in Zambia, and the Zambian youth can learn from all the people in different other places.
Very insightful, and it has actually helped us to understand what the youth ambassadors.
It's very helpful because it's very easy to have great ideas and see nothing happen. So what I would say is it's not just in the pipeline, but the tap has been opened, because already we are, as I say, we're having, particularly some of the ladies, the older ladies are coming to help with the Training of Trainers program. So, and being part of the training, they're not just helping in the kitchen or something like that. So this is just beginning. 2 years ago, Glo was asked to speak to all the elders. And when we were talking with them, we were explaining about mentoring and the importance of mentoring in leadership. And as a result of that, we are following that up by asking which elders are doing this and how is that happening. So that is also already happening. I would love to see that when we have our December camp or whenever we have any other meetings, we are specifically inviting people to come to sit under the same teaching. Because if youth cannot lead until they have learned and listened, or listened and learnt, then also elders cannot lead properly unless they are listening and learning. So we want that spirit of humility and spirit of coming there, and we will be inviting them to the camp that we have in December and whatever activities we are able to put on next year. That is specifically time bound. So I hope that encourages. We are passionate. GLOW was set up particularly at many times in its history as particularly focused on youth. But I think what we are seeing now is we cannot just focus on youth, otherwise you raise a strong youth who, as we've heard, are suspected by the leadership because they're not linked. We have to be doing this together. And the degree, diploma program, the church-based program is all a mixture of youth and older ones, and ladies as well as gentlemen, and we're wanting to see this move forward. So thank you for the challenge.
Thank you very much for that response, Mr. Mukabe.
Thank you very much to everyone for the contributions and for sharing the knowledge to the viewers who may be watching this video. I think we've seen the youths have been quiet for some time. We don't know if it's because of the elders who are here. So we just want to hear, maybe just in a minute, what is the encouragement that you can give to the people, the youths or the elders that will be watching this video as we conclude this discussion. So we'll give you in a minute an encouragement.
Closer to us. As you can see, I'm sitting just next to my elder here, something that really never used to happen because it was like they were in the Holy of Holies and we were supposed to be in the mix of life. Talk to them, relate with them, and if you see that they are not reaching out to you, please try by all means to reach out to them so that at least when we blame them that they are not listening so much to experience a lot of things. So it would be very much encouraging if you would give us that freedom to express ourselves. Then as we express ourselves, you give guidance so that we may know how to live through this life, and especially in the Christian way. Thank you.
A minute.
Okay, I think much has been said. What I would want to end with is the time has come, and it's the time that we should be able to embrace each other. For the young people, yeah, you need to just appreciate that we are humans, like the young man here said, we are human beings who may tend to err in one or the other, but don't cast the devilish aspect that we are seeing. We are actually very of the scholars' ways that these young people are not leaders of tomorrow, but they are leaders of today. Let's be able to carry on the mantle.
To the leaders, I would say less instruction, more asking questions so that you learn to connect with the younger generation. Then in the area of preaching, I would say preach to the heart.
Okay, firstly, I would like to let's open ourselves to them, tell them what we need, what we require at that moment of time. We don't want to see youths leaving the Brethren Church, no. Whatever issues that we are facing, let's go to one of the elders, one of the deacons in church, open to them, talk to them. I know them, they'll go to other elders or deaconess and talk to them, and a solution will be found. It's not a solution leaving the Brethren Church, going to another church. We need to stay in our church, being groomed there, something good. Come to us, talk to us. Let relationship that we embrace every time, that relationship that will make us stay in our church. Please come for
up. And just as in everything, I would say we need love. So let's first of all love each other rather than suspect each other or try and control each other. and then be ready to forgive, because sometimes we will make mistakes and we will do things wrong and we will misunderstand. And the Bible says so often in the New Testament, forgive as Christ has forgiven you. And so we also need to have that heart to want to hear what others are saying, whether it's youth or whether it's elders, and be encouraged. Things are happening, God is at work. I believe he still has a purpose for those who call themselves Christian brethren. We have a church distinctive which the world needs, but we need to maybe return a little bit to what's an understanding of what that is, that we are one together, the priesthood of all believers, not just the elders and the deacons, and that we all need each other in our local churches. May God bless us as we seek to do that.
Thank you very much to the panelists for your time and your wisdom, what you've shared. We hope the discussion has been helpful to our viewers out there, and you can share the video, like the Facebook page, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, TNP. For now, we are saying bye-bye and God bless you.
Hello everybody, my name is Bwalya and I'm going to sing for you my favorite hymn that is dear to my heart. Sit back, relax and enjoy. Kulwa kwa pwano kuchula